And why am I not pro for the daily drugs? Because everyone, there's tons of 90-year-olds drinking coffee every day. Okay, fine, but we're not them. They even had a better microbiome than this generation. They didn't inherit parents pounding espressos and macchiatos and matchas and yerba mates all day long, now producing chronically anxious, ADHD, unable to focus children. Those things, here's why. This is my one statement. I'll say this over and over. You cannot lead a culture to freedom when you are drugged by the chemicals of that culture. That's my perspective. I did drugs. I did lots of drugs. And I'm 30 years away from it, maybe more. And I was a pothead because I had MS coming on. I had chronic pain. I know how you use these drugs for pain. But let me tell you, the biggest pain on planet Earth that is caused is caffeine and sugar. How do I know that? Because every woman that's listened to me that's completely eliminated all processed sugar, she goes from having paralyzing cramps 1 month, and that could mean pasta and bread too, to no pain 1 full month off sugar. Caffeine equals pain. Sugar equals pain. Alcohol turns into sugar, turns into alcohol. So it's all in the same category.
Welcome to the Mindful Injury Recovery Talks with Dr. Maya Novak. Your host is a mindful healing expert and the author of the book, Heal Beyond Expectations. And this show is here to give you the extra resources you need when healing from any physical trauma. Tune into today's episode to get inspired and empowered. And before we start, here's a little known fact about Dr. Maya. She doesn't drink coffee, alcohol, or take any other stimulants.
Is detox really necessary when it comes to healing? This is the main topic of today's episode with Angel Evans. Angel is the founder of BiomeTech and is committed to raising awareness about the link between our microbiome and our neurobiochemistry and the relationship between how we treat our bodies and cells as well as how we treat Earth and each other. She exposes the effects of various substances that we use and are exposed to on a daily basis. How toxicity leads to imbalances on all levels of our existence, and also how we can draw from age-old wisdom of indigenous cultures and start redeeming optimal levels of health, well-being, and consciousness. Angel, I'm so excited for you to be able to join me here in person, so welcome.
I know. It is incredible that we got brought together in Mexico at this moment in time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's start with your story, a bit how you got into detox, because we're going to be talking a lot about detox today.
Well, I think that we start all things with the fact that I did everything wrong. Okay. Welcome to the party.
Yes.
And, I was born from a mother who was allergic to pregnancy. So the first 6 months of my gestation, she ate oatmeal, tapioca pudding and vanilla pudding, and otherwise just vomited the whole time.
Okay.
The whole time. So this was the inception. Then I was not breastfed because her milk didn't come in, and I was given sugar water for 6 days. Okay, what about sugar water? Like, where were they thinking decades ago? Like, what? That's just like insane. Then by the time I was 10 years old, we moved to a place called St. Louis, Missouri, sometimes called Misery. And I started on the journey of antibiotics. So I had 13 years between 10 and 23 years old where I was about 5 to 6 rounds of antibiotics a year. So you know how you always learn what you're going to teach?
Mm-hmm.
I had a devastated microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
And when we begin to understand that the microbiome is the biological internet, it's the thing that sees, senses, and feels, communicates completely with the DNA. The DNA needs the microbiome for instructions. They're like this harmonious relationship. And we live in a culture where all we've done is learn to damage our DNA and learn to destroy our microbiome. And when children are not born vaginally, they're not vaccinated with the mother's microbiome in the same way. Now it's just I had every other hit against me.
Yes.
And so there isn't much in the health world that I have not faced personally. from black hole depressions to, I never had anxiety the way young people today have anxiety. But I visited, for one of my birthdays, I was taken to the old city of Jerusalem in the Jewish quarter. And for 8 days, it didn't matter my technology or any meditation or anything. I was like, with like the story of all the religious wars, of all the history of that part of the world, but the level of anxiety was off the charts. And in some ways, it was actually good for me because it made me realize what all young people are living with right now. And that was not my thing. I went into depression at times, and I had multiple sclerosis for about 20 years. So I had agonizing neurological pain. I mean, I had pain. I had so much pain. It's where I learned that I wasn't my body. I have a body.
But you're not.
But I'm not my body. And it's a gift. It's a temple. And right now, we sort of treat our bodies like Skid Row.
We do.
like just when we talk about the daily drugs, which we'll get into, it's shocking how, you have to take a test to drive a car. You don't have to do anything to ruin your brain and your microbiome in this culture. And this culture is everywhere. I've been in about 18, 19 countries in the last 5 or 6 years, barring the little COVID lockdown game. And basically, all the young people are anxious.
Yeah.
I just hardly see any that aren't. There's a few unicorns, and there's a few families that don't have lineage of caffeine and alcohol and sugar and chocolate and stress and anxiety and antibiotics and vaccines and all the things that inhibit the glory of the light that we can radiate with this temple.
And you know what? How I see this COVID or the last 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
So before, people rarely really understood what injured people are going through in regards to being isolated, in regards to having all these emotions that come onto the surface.
Yeah.
And I see, in a way, this as a good thing, so that all people can feel potentially what others were feeling before but couldn't really express. So I try to find something positive in any shitty and bad situation. So,
Well, let's just say COVID has been great because you identify your tribe very immediately now. You know the people you relate to. Injury and isolation, I mean, that's a really incredible perspective, is that it's been really healthy to increase a level of compassion for all people's state of existence.
Yes.
Sadly, as I've gone to Mexico City recently, and I've been in France, and I've been in England and the United States, it hasn't quite landed. The true level of compassion that we want to express within ourselves and with each other.
Yes.
And this is where I think people are in so much spiritual amnesia. They don't remember that we are one. They don't remember that, the whole of the ocean of creation is in the drop, and we're a drop, but yet in that drop is the whole creation. And so that's where we're going to get into a little more vast contemplation, so that we can start to realize that no matter what beautiful level of light, whether you're fully injured, whether you're diseased, whatever level of light that you can radiate, not one other being in the entire creation has yours.
Yes, that's true. So in regards to detox, very often we hear from physicians, mostly physicians or other health professionals, well, detox is not really necessary because we have organs that do this 24/7 for us. So we have liver, we have lungs, we have kidneys, and so on. What is your view on this? Do we need detox? Do we have our bodies equipped enough?
My view on that is that they're literally stupid. Let's be very black and white about it.
Okay. Can you go a bit deeper?
I'm going to go much deeper into this.
Okay.
So in many of my journey, I lived in Bali, Indonesia back in the 90s, and I got worms. And I got the kind of worms that grow 13 inches, 5 feet, and I dealt with those for decades. And it's what turned me on to colonics. And I'm very specific about what kind of colonics I think people should do. You want an open system, you want a gravity fed system. You do not want a closed system, which is the old style where they used to fill you up and make you hold it. And then you would do a release. Like no matter what, I'm not into those style colonics, and I'm into people understanding about enemas. So I'm going to go to the heart of illness from what I've learned.
Okay.
The heart of
And may I just ask you, when you're talking, you're going to go into the heart of the illness. Does this resonate with injuries as well? Or is just...
Yes, 100%. Because people don't recover from injuries unless they're cleaner. And I've helped people recover from injuries with my technology and with all kinds of cleansing programs in half the time, a third of the time of what normally would happen. Because when you understand that the small intestine has 52 little curves, and all those little curves get compacted with things. And if you'll notice, older people smell, and younger people today smell, and they smell more acidic. And the thing to know is that the small intestine doesn't release unless you put water up there. Now, you need to keep taking probiotics. You're not going to be a maniac like me and do 800 colonics. But when you have 5.5-foot worms coming out of you for years, which most people have, that really is what is going on with most bodies. So what I would say is that, you need to find a colon hydrotherapist that you believe in, that you feel good about, no matter what your injury is, no matter what is going on, cleaning the system, because the doctors are like, the average person, I started researching this at 12 years old. My first paper was on, eating disorders and things like that. Basically, the average human being carries 25 to 50 pounds of extra feces. And I'm talking Victoria's Secret models, major movie stars. It doesn't matter who you are. So if you think about trying to get blood to an injury, and yet you have a colon that's compacted or impacted, you build this thing called a biofilm on it. When you have that going on, how can you possibly get blood flow properly to your wrist? How can you get blood flow to your ankle? I snapped an ankle. I chipped my tibia about almost 2 years ago, March. So I had never really been an injury person. I was more of an illness person. Let me tell you something.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
So with injuries.
Yeah.
sorry to
No. I'm glad I did, because everything that I applied is recent enough that I truly understand. Because here you are in your house, your leg is propped up, you're not able to move the way you want. I would say, first of all, if you're not even mobile, put yourself on a bowel cleanse product. And there's many across the world. There's intestinal movement formula. There's a product called Kenda, which is vile to drink, but it really does clean out layers of the colon. So I would say layer one of detox is you've got to get the stuff out of your colon.
And especially, when I had my rock climbing accident and had fractured ankle, with strong medication, strong pain medication, comes also constipation.
Yeah.
So I was advised to take something, but because my diet, I drink, first of all, a lot of water, and I eat a lot of fiber, I've never had any type of problems. But I know that people have problems. So you advise to
put on a colon product.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My company sells one that is revolutionary, ahead of the world, called Colon Love, which actually goes in and starts to melt the biofilm. I mean, it's really advanced because it's a product made from a healthy microbiome. So my technology is more advanced than what's on the market. However, wherever you are in whatever country, I've never been a big fiber lover. I'm more like the stimulate the movement of the colon type person.
Like gentle type of thing.
No, I like a forceful. I want to get everybody on the planet to be able to sit down and the anaconda comes out in a nice coiled shape, like your intestines, and you barely have any, TMI smearing. You wipe and you're up and you're done. And every time you eat, you go to the bathroom. 99% of the world goes, I poop every day. How many times a day? And how much food are you consuming? And are you relying on caffeine to stimulate the colon to release? Because that's one of the reasons a lot of people don't want to get rid of caffeine, is that it's a false stimulant that will make you poop. But that doesn't get rid of the acid. See, Healing from anything means that you need to get the acid out of the small intestine and the intestine, because that's what most people putrefy as they age. It isn't about just the telomeres of the brain. It's like you stink. And as you clear this out of yourself, you stop stinking. You stop giving off BO. You stop smelling like rancid stomach, And that's, people will say, well, I don't want to get too clean. I can't. Just shut up. Like, you can never get too clean. You're in a body on earth in 2022, 3, 4. And don't get me started on the amount of gases. 1 5-mile car ride. This is, someone quoted this the other day, a scientist, that you get like 30 pounds of gas. And the body never releases that, which is another project that we're working on, because that's what makes you have memory loss. Now, when someone's isolated, without stimulation, they're in injury. Number 1, get yourself mental stimulation every day. Every single human being should do that anyway. But you want to drink water, but you don't want to obsess about drinking water where you're peeing every 5 minutes. We have been programmed in the health world that you need so much water. You actually don't. You need to digest your food, get fluids from your fruit, and drink enough water, but you should not be peeing, every 30 minutes. And one of the side effects of COVID is ruining everybody's bladder. We call COVID the great activator, because you have COVID, which right now there's already been, by a very secret organization, 220,000 strains identified. And so everybody's carrying it, like Epstein-Barr, like Hep C is out there. That's the reason that detox is so crucial, is that if you have a liver that's been drinking and caffeinating and sugaring and all the things that are the daily drugs, now you've got an injury and this liver can't keep up.
And then you have pain medication.
Which is a nightmare to recovery. I cannot tell you how many clients over my 28 years of doing this part of my work that I have to repair their brains from having the benzodiazepine class, from the opioid class, from all of these different areas. And so how would I tell somebody to detox? Well, I've just produced a vitamin C that is like no other on the planet. And hopefully it is the product we can take to the whole planet, because it's actually the complete vitamin C that we would produce. Humans are the only mammals that don't produce their own vitamin C. All the other mammals do. And when you take ascorbic acid or liposomal vitamin C or all the different products that are on the market, you're missing that entire range of peptides needed to integrate, utilize, and digest it. So when I went to France, I just intuitively was, because I'll listen. I don't really take supplements, but it was like, take vitamin C with you. And I was like, well, I'll just buy liposomal, because that is supposed to go to be in the blood. And it's not really true, most of the marketing that they put out there, because depending on the coating of it, it can dissolve in a matter of minutes. So most health marketing out there is not exactly true. You want to ideally get your vitamins from your food and the sun and clean water. Yes. You want to have clean water. In detox, you got to figure out your water source first. You have to be pooping. You have to be cleaning the poop channels. You have to be drinking water that is good.
Not just any type of water.
Not just any type. And you have to research the best water machines in your country. I wish I could say to you, this is it, but it changes all the time. So you have to unfortunately, I had the best water I have ever had in my life. And in COVID, this very ancient, very beautiful spring was shut down. And I could never found anything to replace it. And I'm going to tell you, I drank 1 cup at my lawyer's because they represented them. And I was like, wow, I've never had water before. And I drank almost a box because they used to deliver it in cardboard boxes. It's kind of like that with our vitamin C. It'll heal the adrenals. It'll do all kinds of things. I'm super thrilled about this. It's not going to be on the market by the time this comes, but if you find my company, you'll be able to get stuff, because I want to figure out how to take the minute amount you need, put it in a healthy filler so it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, and it'll look like the other vitamin C's, because humans can't handle different. It's so weird.
Yes.
So detox comes from many, many levels. When people say to you that the organs are supposed to work, well, if you're born from parents who have congenital heart disease, it's likely that you have methyl groups on the genes of that part of your DNA. And a methyl group is I just call it a barnacle. And when there's a barnacle or a methyl group on the gene, which is the blueprint of how the microbiome, the cell, the DNA, every reads the blueprint to make the chemicals for wellness that you need, when that barnacle's there, it can't read it. When the DNA is squashed because it doesn't have the scaffolding around it called the histone envelope, when that's not there, you can't accordion the DNA, which DNA, I know this may not seem like it's about injury, but it really is. DNA, I think, is 6 feet long if you were to stretch every DNA out. Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea how many folds are required to put it into one cell? Do you know?
I forgot.
It's okay. Don't worry. No one knows. I wouldn't know if I didn't have the most genius brain chemist partner. 33,333 folds.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of folds. And there's a lot of things that can misfold. This is where most illness, this is where tendency towards even injury comes from. Because we don't want to get into the hermetic principles or the laws of the universe, but when you're vibrating at a place that is going to invite injury or activate, like, what did you learn from your injury? Did you ever tell anybody?
Oh, yes. So let's...
Shall we?
Shall we? My book was published in October this year. So this is coming, our interview is coming out 2023. The book was published in 2022. So Heal Beyond Expectations is what I've learned about my injury, how I've helped people. And my learning is definitely, my injury was the best gift.
Exactly.
Because I was forced to deal with stuff that I was kind of pushing aside or running away.
Or rushing from.
And then the universe grabbed me and was like, honey,
you're going to sit.
It's time.
Yeah.
We have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been and still is an incredible journey.
Yeah.
Not always easy.
No. Consciousness is not convenient or comfortable.
No.
That's the deal. If you're in too much comfort, it's unlikely that you're growing, you're figuring out, you're sorting, you're doing what needs to be done. Let's just show them the book. It's so pretty.
On the video.
Let's make sure that you know, Heal Beyond Expectations. It's the same with my multiple sclerosis. Mm-hmm. It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
I would like to ask you about this because when we hear about MS,
very
often that's it. This is your life sentence.
This is your life sentence. There are many people out there who have healed their MS from many things. Now, from my perspective, MS is a virus. Nobody really talks about that. But illnesses or dis-ease is an accumulation. We look at it like this. Here's your glass of water. Mm-hmm. All your life, you're collecting viruses, you're collecting toxins, you're collecting all these things. All of a sudden, the glass overflows with one thing, and they go, you have Hep C. No, you actually have clogged colon. You actually have probably all different kinds of viruses. You probably have some heavy metals in there. You probably have, an enormous amount of things that don't resonate with your biological field and your vessel. You're eating things like onions and garlic every day, which are an antibiotic. Yeah. Like I know I sound like, the antichrist of nurturing, but the deal is anything you eat that makes your mouth smell like dog poop, you should question. You should question. When you're eating fruits and vegetables, even if your body can eat some red meat, grass-fed, organic, best you can do, no antibiotics, eating fish from the best resource that you know, even though there's a lot of it full of metals. If you're doing the best you can, your breath doesn't stink every day. Mm-hmm. Like you have a lot of signals that are telling you things. If you're someone that sweats and you stink like the worst hangover in the world, it's time to question your own hygiene. Mm-hmm. But I do understand, and I have no judgment, because I feel like we kind of landed here in our iteration of humanity, and the instruction manual was just gone, just disappeared. So illness is opportunity, injury is opportunity. That's the first foundation that I like to get. And so I'll look at people and go, what are you learning from your cancer? How did that broken leg help you? You know, you must go into the inquiry. Like, how did I end up here? 90% of the time when I interview people, they'll say, I knew I shouldn't have gone in the car that day. I knew it wasn't the right day to go walking. I knew that if I pushed myself, I was going to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most people have these intuitions, and that's what we're not focusing on, is how to really listen to a thread of truth that is aligned perfectly for you.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, well, you just don't know me in relationships. Like, how can they? No one is as interested in it as you are going to be in the whole of your life. That is the emancipation principle to true freedom. This person is 100% responsible to discover what this journey is about. That's why if you try to mimic everybody else's journey, you fail.
If you want to be a copycat, then, you cannot actually do it that way, because you're going to be all the time be a shadow of someone.
Yeah.
And not your true self.
You're not resonating at your own glorious light. And so we have all these different laws, the law of oneness, the law of polarity, the law of vibration and rhythm. And no one even understands how the laws run our life. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm going to teach this year. Awesome. The laws of the universe.
So going back to detox.
Okay.
Yes. I want to ask you one thing. So
the drugs. We didn't talk about how to detox the drugs, but we'll go.
Okay. After this, because I think it goes really well hand in hand. We have so many things promoted to us in regards to detox plans.
I know.
So are there good detox plans and bad detox plans?
Absolutely.
And how do we choose?
Okay, so let's look at it. Let's say you are injured. Let's say you haven't even been mobile for 6 to 8 months, 12 mm-hmm. months, whatever amount of time, even 3 months, even 2 months. You're sedentary. So your kidney and your liver are having to work harder because you're not breathing as much as you should, likely. You're not exercising. You're not walking. You're not getting fresh air, perhaps. And as soon as you start taking 100 supplements to try to clean things out, now you're taxing your liver and your kidney. Most nutrient supplements on the market, look, they've all served a purpose. I wouldn't be alive if I hadn't had that phase of doing that before I met my technology. There's useful bits. Magnesium's incredible if you're constipated. It's just that now you're taxing your kidney and liver because they're not bioavailable nutrients. Mm-hmm. And everyone uses that in their marketing. 100% bioavailable. No, this is a bunch of peptides ripped out of a full complex. And now they go into your system and everyone goes, but I feel better when I have my green drinks. Okay, juicing greens are one thing, but all the green foods, spirulina, chlorella, and everything, these are basically fish food. And people feel better because their immune system's been kicked in mm-hmm. and sort of punched in the gut. And they have an energetic up. And I'm not going to say all chlorella is bad, no, nothing is bad completely. Having intelligence and intuition on what is the path for you is crucial. And oftentimes when people are ill or injured, they're off their game. And so they're looking at 25 different doorways to tell them what to do. So the first thing...
Or maybe not even one, because they are so much in fear because they went to see a doctor, surgeon, whoever.
Right. Yeah.
They got, potentially, talking from my own experience,
yeah.
worst case scenario,
yeah.
and then you are sent home
yeah.
and good luck,
yeah.
and I'll see you in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And sometimes people they're paralyzed.
Yeah.
And they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And they're just waiting and hoping and fingers crossed,
yeah.
which doesn't work.
Let's make you the voice. Let's make you the voice of injury complacency or injury freeze, where we can hopefully empower you and this doorway. So it's like freezing is not the answer. Yeah. Now, the sad part of medicine, if you're in a car accident, thank goodness there's an emergency room and they can reset your leg, but medicine is cut and paste. Medicine is not figuring out the cause of something. Medicine is not doing its job because it should be in constant discovery, constant revelation. It's called practicing medicine. They're practicing. The problem is the pharmaceutical companies took over, and the AMA and all these people made agreements, and the love of helping our brother and sister is lost in that field, mostly. There's good doctors around the world. There's great people in every field. I am not anti-medicine. I don't even ever want to be projected onto that. I'm anti the people who refuse to discover where the cause comes from. And so when you're looking at detox programs, I'm going to say the basics. If your colon is not moving multiple times a day, you are constipated, and any supplement you take is going to get stuck. Mm-hmm. So what good is that? So you have to get your colon moving. If you can afford colonics, find somebody with an open system, with different kinds of systems that are not the closed one. That's the only one that I sort of recommend not doing.
So for those who don't know, what's the difference between what is
a closed system? An open system is they put the speculum in there. Some of them are self-regulating, where you can lay on this thing and there's an open sink underneath you, and you adapt the water flow as the pressure that you can handle. And
it's going out at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of going in and going out at the same time.
Okay.
Like, it's pretty amazing. Or you slow it down if you're like suddenly having a release. The closed system is the old style that, that was the best they had then, where they fill you up and you have to hold it and hold it and hold it. And then you do this release, and it's like it stresses out your colon. It's just not as nurturing a system. And I don't even know if people are really using that one anymore, but that's the only one that I say that's not your best choice.
You still can buy edema kits, in the pharmacy.
I love the Australian health kit. And I tell everyone on Amazon, because the speculum doesn't have that little ridge, because it's just a long plastic tube and it kind of goes into your rectum, and you're able to adjust where you want it to go up and down without feeling this hard little edge going to your rectum. So I like that one. It's also open. It hangs. Some people have the metal thing, pots that hang. If you're super injured and you cannot get up and down from the toilet, enemas are not a choice. Yeah. So I highly recommend, but like in Massachusetts, one of the places I'm based, you can't find anyone that does a colonic. It's colon hydrotherapy. Not anyone. It's crazy. And then doctors will say that's totally dangerous. Look, you're going to take probiotics. Getting the poisons out means your recovery is half the time. And what my colon hydrotherapist, genius wizard I studied with for 8 years, he said, once somebody's had 5 colonics, you now have an understanding of what you're facing. Once they've had 30, it changes your point of view in life. Once you've had 100, depending on how, many years of destroying yourself you've been in, you're not even the same human being.
But how often should you be doing
Depends
this?
on the person. I was a crazy person and would do many days in a row when I was traveling to my one place. And then I'd go off for 2 months. Don't do too many in a row, but I highly recommend you do 2 or 3 in a row, because the first one is just soaking the impacted stuff. Day 2, you start to really release even more. By day 3, you're like in shock because, and it doesn't feel very comfortable, because as the acid is coming off the walls, you kind of feel that. You can feel a little headachy or nausea. Some people just feel amazing, but there's a whole range of how you can feel. And then what I would say to people, depending on what you can afford, I found it to be more productive to do 2 in a row if that's what you can afford in a month. And then you're using your colon products in between. And this is very much about injury. This is not just about detoxing.
Yes.
It's like you need blood flow. You need clean blood and air and water fluids to get to that injury.
But let me ask you this, because when we are flushing out from the colon, we are flushing out everything. How is then with microbiome? Because first of all, people already have really weak microbiome in general.
But the microbiome is everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. But if we're talking just gut microbiome, let's say just gut microbiome.
It's like this. It's a juggle.
So how do you then
Justify. Yeah.
Yes. And what do you have to do so that at the end you are not just this?
You have to do probiotics. With women, I tell people there's a product in the States called BioK, which is a really good probiotic kind of yogurt pot.
Mm-hmm.
I even have them dip their tampon in it, stick it into their vagina. If we had proper fecal transplant situations set up in the world, which we really don't, that would be ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Is take the pills. I haven't found anyone yet. I'm sure she's out there, he's out there that are doing the right work, and I'm always open to that. But I would say you want to stick to the best probiotic you can find. A lot of them are dead when you get them. So,
and you also have to test them.
I know.
So it's if you
listen,
just
it's quite a journey on the supplement journey. It's like, and everyone has the best, and I'm the answer. Like, even though I have a ton of answers for people, I never will say, just do my stuff. It's like, no, I like to turn people's brain on so that they begin to get guided exactly where they need to go. Because I did 100 different things to get out of MS and to get my body back online. And I still do. You have to work this thing or you lose it.
Yeah.
So
talking about medication.
So medication. Oh, man.
And how do we do then detox after that? Because injuries, serious injuries. I mean, I'm going to be honest. After the surgery, when I got 2 screws into my talus bone, I was so grateful for morphine.
Absolutely.
So it was lifesaver.
I sort of wish they would use morphine rather than the oxys or the benzos.
Well, I got oxys for home, but my own decision was I'm going to get off of it as soon as possible. I was on pain medication for 10 days.
Yeah.
And then I was just playing with the pain, with my mind, and that was it.
Yeah.
But people are on strong medication for weeks, for months, unfortunately, also for years.
I know.
So how is this, when we're talking about detox, healing, pain medication, strong medication?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Well, the thing that I would say is, like you, where you already had some awareness of how addictive these things are and how much they absolutely screw with your neurotransmitter bank account, is that, I
can tell you, after 10 days, I had withdrawal symptoms.
Yes.
I was weepy. It was weird because it was like, who is this?
Yes.
What is happening?
I know.
Luckily, in the hospital, a nurse told me that he had injury a year prior.
Yeah.
He said, this is strong stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to be weepy and it's going to be hard. So I was kind of prepared.
Right. But most people aren't.
Most people aren't.
I know.
Yeah.
And so this is where hopefully as we, get more funding and I would like, BioNTech to be global, and I would like everybody to have access to it at an affordable rate, because I don't know anyone else that can fix the brain chemistry after those kind of things. So what we have to look at is we have to look at natural things that you can get in any country. When you have anxiety from withdrawal, then get St. John's wort, get kava tea, get whatever calming things. I am not a proponent of CBD or THC at all. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty anti.
Can you tell us why?
Because it basically neutralizes brain function at such a level. Because like everyone says CBD, look at what it does for seizures. Okay, well, first of all, everyone and their brother is not having seizures, okay? I am not against the parents whose kids are in seizures every 5 seconds using CBD, but how are they going to kickstart the brain regeneration once they get dealing with the seizures? Okay. So most people are not looking at brain chemistry when they're taking different things. If someone is in chemo and they cannot eat THC edibles. I mean, do whatever you have to do, because chemo is so toxic and so deadly. Mm-hmm. This is where I want to keep going back to the intuition, and the other thing I want to say about an injury, just like an illness, you need a team. I'm going to say it right to them. You need a team of supporters. You need advocates. And if you don't have advocates in your physical life, you need to look online and listen to other people who've come out of it, because they exist. Yeah. I haven't personally come out in a very big way because, number one, I didn't get these scans on my brain to see the lesions. So I'm not going to have anyone go, well, let's scan her brain and we'll see if the lesions were there. It's like, no, I tried. I had access to the top UCLA neural department and they wouldn't scan me. to see what was, what had healed, what had gone on. And honestly, I'm too far away from the disease. My brain would have regenerated way too much from what I do. So I'm not out there to say, I'm the MS girl. No, I'm the control freak who faced a neurological disease, which is what every neurological disease is about, is control freak. And I got to learn to love myself in all states. And a lot in me fell apart. I mean, I went from really top level modeling, not like the top 5 girls, but working with them and being in the world. And in 6 months, my arms, my legs, my belly looked like I was 85 because I lost that neuromuscular junction and I lost the texture of my skin. And so even though that's not like an injury, that is an injury because you have to learn.
It's physical trauma.
It's such physical trauma. You have to learn to live with like, wow, I looked like a 25-year-old yesterday. Now I look like an 80-year-old in my body. How do I learn to love that? And that's where I'm talking about the injury. It's like the first thing you have to do is get yourself a team, enroll people to help you, and kick your ass to not go into complacency. Because if you're going to learn to walk again, if you're going to learn to use your arm again, you have got to have somebody who goes, okay, I know you're not doing great. We're getting up anyway. You're still going to physical therapy. You're still going to like move around the block with your walker. You have to have that.
Unfortunately, what is happening with the conventional medical approach is that you are, first of all, sent home and fingers crossed and everything is going to be fine, probably, or not.
Yeah.
And then what breaks my heart is that even the basic things are not provided for people. You know how many times I hear people reaching out to me and say, well, my doctor didn't even prescribe any physiotherapy.
I know.
So just physiotherapy.
I know.
And then we're talking here about like true holistic healing.
I know.
So it's really on us as individuals that we have to do our own research.
Yes.
Which is amazing since we have internet.
Yes.
But internet can be a big jungle.
Yes.
And a lot of not so good information there as well.
It's interesting your name is Maya, which is the illusion.
Yes.
And that you are here to bust the illusion. Just like my name is Angel. Like, where did that come from? And I'm bringing light to every situation. And so let's go back. Let's go to, I want to mention the subconscious just a little bit.
Please.
Because the subconscious is communicated through the body. So the subconscious, they hypothesize, was developed with girls between 12 and 13 years old when you become logical, and boys 14 to 16. That can be different. Doesn't have to be that. And it's everything that you made up in your mind with all the adults in your life, all the experiences that are not necessarily true. Mom and dad are having a fight. Mom's wearing a yellow sweater. All of a sudden, every time you see yellow, even though it's the sunshine, you think that you're going to be in a fight. And the subconscious is always trying to make us safe.
Yes.
And the challenge with the subconscious is that oftentimes our physical experiences, from injury to ecstasy, have to do with how our subconscious is handling the current reality. And so the most important tool, this is a tool time, the most important tool that I teach people, and I learned this from one of my teachers, Ratziel Bander, is a wonderful book called How to Become Who You Are. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit dense. As you read that book, you literally go through a transformation with your own subconscious. No joke. And I'm going to give you the shortcut. The shortcut that I created, he didn't even do this, is that you put your left hand on your heart, because left is often feminine, lungs are father, right is masculine, stomach is mother. If you have stomach issues, it's about mommy. If you have lung issues, it's about daddy, almost every time. Not every time, but almost. So you're going to close your eyes and you're going to talk to your own subconscious like the baby that it is. And you're going to start with, there's 2 aspects that you must do, but I'll embellish it afterwards. The first one is, thank you so much for letting me know what's going on. I really appreciate that you're telling me this. And the second part is, gosh, this is so great that I'm listening to you. Could we be a team? Could we work on the same side? Now, you can embellish this to like, oh, wow, we're having a really hard time today. Whatever reaction you're in, whatever panic you're in, whatever injury you're in, it's like, we didn't have a very good meeting with the doctor today. In fact, that was like terrible. Is it okay if you just keep telling me how you feel? Would it be all right if you just keep sharing this with me? I really want you to know I'm not leaving you. I love you. I'd like us to work on the same side. Could we be a team? And what this process does is it instantaneously calms you down. And I'm going to tell you, when I first learned about this, I had no idea that I would walk in a room, and I'm a powerful being, and I was punching everybody's lights out from my subconscious. And I would be perfectly zen, and everyone was upset. And they're like, "You're so weird. What's going on?" I'm like, "Nothing. What are you talking about?" I had to do this like 300 times a day. They're getting any help, if any, from me because I was a wreck, and I would learn everything the hard way, and I don't want anyone to have to suffer any more than they already are. Mm-hmm. You don't either. That's why we're doing this. So when you learn to talk to your subconscious, now, when you're in public, you're in a meeting, you're not going to sit here and do some weird spiritual talk.
Give me just 5 seconds.
Yeah. Excuse me. Ti, allora. Vieni qui. So you're basically going to touch heels trauma. You're going to touch your hands together. You're going to think 2 things. Gosh, I'm so glad you're letting me know about this. Would it be okay if we work together here? I had to do that 300 times a day. When the religions have totally mutilated Mary, like Mary the whore, Mary the virgin. No, it's the same woman. Anyway, you want to marry the subconscious and conscious mind. You want to bring them together. And at this point in my life, almost, depending on if I'm exhausted, because humans are not reliable when they're exhausted, there's not much that I hear, and I deal with a lot of chaos every day from other people's lives, that wobbles me. Because I learned about this 15 years ago. And I tell everyone, and if you teach your children immediately, you've now caused a lineage of intelligence in your family.
And it's so important that we learn how to talk to ourselves, because what I see that happens so often is this subconscious or inner child has a tantrum. There is something happening. And a lot of times what we do is that we push it aside. Like, I'm not going to talk to you until you behave, right?
Right.
So we have this turmoil, and then we are being not the nicest person. I'm not going to use any other word here.
We're trying to be clean.
Yeah, let's try it.
Good luck with me.
So it's so important that we learn how to talk to ourselves.
It's crucial.
How to listen to ourselves, and how to actually also sit with uncomfortable emotions.
Yeah.
Because it is hard.
It is hard.
And we want to run away.
Yeah, we do.
And then we have anxieties, and we have so much sadness, and we still want to run away. Yeah. We don't want to deal with that.
Well, and those areas are usually where injuries come from.
Yeah.
Like that's the hard truth, is that your higher self, your team, your beings of light, whatever, God, source, whatever you believe in, is going to create circumstance through your vibration, through your rhythms, to teach you what you came to learn here. And so one of the reasons I really work with people on this practice, and I mean, this is a year's practice. Like, you may think you've handled it in like 20 times, like you have not. Because you have no clue what you made up before you were logical. So you walk down the street and you're like, I'm going to be raped. That could be actually a transgenerational epigenetic inheritance gene from your mother, who actually was raped, that you never found out about, or your grandmother. And so the more you get into the conversation with your subconscious, the more, and it feels weird in the beginning. Like, I'll just say that to you right now. Like when I first, I was like, I'm not going to talk to myself out loud. Are you insane? He's so great, Graziel. And it's like, you just learn to do it, and then you teach the kids to do it, and they learn to self-soothe. And you want to get to the place that even before there's a reaction, like you just feel this little, go, thanks for letting me know about this. I love you. I'm not going to leave you. Thank you, subconscious. You're just trying to make me safe. Would it be okay if we work together here? Could we be a team? And that's the first tool.
So would you say, for those who are learning about this the first time, Would you say that the more they do it, the more they will also figure out what is theirs and what potentially has been gifted down
Right.
from generations?
Right.
Is it possible to get that insight, or is it doesn't matter and it's just enough that we know how to talk to ourselves and to our subconscious?
Well, since I removed those methyl groups with the technology we do, if you were to have access to us, as you remove the methyl groups by this nutrient technology, you begin to realize, oh, it's like my whole mom's side is multiple sclerosis, my whole dad's side is Parkinson's. Like it's everywhere. So I came into neurological disease as my library. And then I also smoked pot. That's one of the reasons, no one has any idea the devastating effects of THC. I mean, the number of women in menopause in their late 30s, because it ruins your hormones. We don't live in the era where the shamans would take you on a vision quest once in your lifetime. And oftentimes in those lineages, only the shaman did the drug, because 300, 500, 700, 900, thousands of years ago, you had a microbiome that could take these chemicals and transform them. This new horror show of plant medicine on the planet is just like,
it's a business. Well, I think that we could have the whole episode just about that.
We're not going to,
especially because we are based here in Mexico. So, souther you go. I mean, it really became a business.
It's a genocide.
Yes.
It's another form of genocide.
Yes.
Because, taking those kind of things and blowing the doors of the subconscious open and never closing them again. And here's the challenge, is that anyone that is in that path, they've altered their chemistry enough that they don't know that they sort of sound insane, or that they're not really naturally their true self.
Yeah, what I would just comment in regards to that is that do your research.
Yes.
If you decide that this is your path, okay, but do your research who your guide is going to be.
It's not a shaman housewife who like all of a sudden discovers ayahuasca and she's some white chick in, Oregon that never did a drug before and isn't trained by anyone.
And unfortunately, this is happening.
Oh no, it's everywhere. It's been everywhere for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's only showing up. And right now the pharmaceutical companies are they're trying to get patented for mushrooms. Yes. They've already gotten ketamine out there. I mean, I had to stop one of my tribe. They called me from the emergency room. Their son had split their head open. They go, he's 5. They want to give him ketamine. I was like, I don't care what the other options are. Don't give him ketamine, because I now know hundreds of teenagers who the parents don't know what to do because the brain chemistry doesn't work. They're manically stressed out. The doctors are now giving them 7 doses of ketamine, and the child is now catatonic and unable to leave their room. And I'm talking tens and tens of cases, not just like a unicorn case. This is like really, so back to detox the drugs,
injuries and
the drugs. So what I would say is bone broth is amazing. Mm-hmm. Bone broth is one of the ways that you can do a 3-day bone broth cleanse. Work to reset your system. Make sure you're using something, Mago 7, intestinal movement formula, one of these kind of products. So you're pooping because you're not taking anything solid in. So you're moving your system. It doesn't matter how bedridden you are. It's kind of amazing. And it's hard to find bone broth in the freezer sections that don't have any onions and garlic. I will tell you right now, it's tough. So you sort of have to use what's available and easy. And I first would say do a 3-day bone broth cleanse. I would say let yourself kind of, you'll get hungry, but you won't die. And let yourself feel where your normal thing is. And then I'm going to go to the most important detox. The food that you eat needs to be full of light. What is full of light? Plants, fruits, and vegetables. Now, for the last 10 years, I've had to beat the drum of stop being a vegan, vegetarian idiot, because hardly any of the human bodies can live without protein, animal protein. It's definitely what rebuilds the brain. However, there's an intelligent way to use, and spiritual people would say, it's not relevant. You're not highly evolved enough. Look, when you're dealing with an injury or you're dealing with an illness, you have to get well enough to go into different spiritual practices sometimes, unless you're Ram Dass, who just radiates light from his stroke. I mean, I got to Ram Dass right after he had his stroke, and he's like, I don't want to get rid of my stroke effect. I was like, okay, we're not going to help you. It's cool. So, but most people out there aren't Ram Dass. Most people out there don't have the ability to just be at one with their circumstances in their vessel. So this is when, from my experience and my own injuries, the more raw type foods you can eat. However, you also have to think of the season you're in. If you suddenly try to just eat salads and fruits and you're in, 20 below zero weather, you're not getting warm enough to get all that energy. So, down here, the sun is so bright, it's so strong, you don't really have to eat a lot of meat. Doesn't mean you never eat it. It's just you don't have to eat a lot because you want the energy foods. So this is where you have to start using discernment. What are your physical circumstances? Where is the injury? How long have you been on the drugs? But it's more likely to help you detox with green juice that you've freshly juiced yourself, or work with some carrot juice. Don't go crazy and get orange skin and drink 3 8-ounce glasses a day, which people do that too.
I'm laughing because when I was very young child, my mom got scared that potentially something, she rushed me to the doctor and they looked at me because my skin was orangey. I loved, and I still love carrots.
I know.
So thank goodness. So the doctor just asked my mother, is your girl eating a lot of carrots? Yes. Well, just take her to sun, and just enjoy, because she's completely healthy. It's just a bit color popped.
Lots of carrots.
Lots of carrots.
I know. One of my friends was a melon freak, and he would eat like a cantaloupe every day. And his hands were orange.
Yes.
Like, I think we don't have enough fun in our healing journey. And I want you to know that the first time you get an injury, and especially someone who's never been injured, the entitlement and arrogance of the uninjured and unsick, the minute they get it, they're the biggest babies in the world because they never had to fight. I'm pretty straight up with my clients. And I mean, just like look at women and men when they get sick. Come on. A guy gets a cold and he's like whining.
But we can also talk about, because women, a lot of the times, they feel like a burden to the family when they are injured.
I know.
So there is that part of the emotional and mental struggle.
So let's go back to that. So that's really important. When you look at all the animals in the world, the mothers are the fiercest at kicking the baby out of the nest, of taking it to go hunt, of getting it to actually learn to serve itself. When a mother of a household is no longer able to be the nurturer, the food provider, the things that are natural to women, if the woman is not denatured, she thinks that her circumstances are troubling everyone else, when in fact, it can be a teaching for everyone in the family. And that's what it's for. Women can handle a ton more pain, a ton more discomfort. Just look at the monthly cycle. Like, we're sick, but we got to go to work and we got to get the kids to school. We do it anyway. The most important thing, if you are an injured mother, is that you're here to enroll your children to help you with the process, because they signed up for your experience as well.
And your partner, if you have.
If you have a partner, you've been pulling 70 to 80% of the weight of running the family and the household likely anyway. Time to show up. And what I would say to every injured person, the biggest thing that I've seen is that they go back to their ritual before they're fully healed. And they double the healing time or triple the healing time because they pretend they're okay.
And sometimes they are, quote unquote, forced to go back to work because they have to pay bills, because they don't get the time off, because XYZ. I was extremely lucky in that regard. I wasn't rushed into anything.
Right.
So I had accident in New Zealand 3 months after we moved to New Zealand.
Right.
So my husband was taking care of everything. So I had the time, but I know, but I know of so many ladies as well as men who don't have that opportunity.
Right.
So,
So I'm going to say this is where my relentless nature got me through my stuff.
Yep.
And this is what I would lend, inspire, activate in anyone listening. Borrow my relentless nature if you don't have it. Borrow my confidence. Borrow someone else's. Find a way to get a neighbor to come over and stretch your leg. Find a way to have someone in your life. Hound the insurance system. Hound whoever you have to hound to get yourself some home health. Do whatever it takes. The most important thing is don't give up. And the most important thing is where this is running. Because if you think that you're ruined, you will be ruined. Whatever you think, you're going to be right. So if you can find a way, and there's plenty of YouTubes out there, listen to Esther Hicks on how to think a better feeling thought. Listen to some of these crazy, outlandish podcasts. Even if you don't agree with the guy doing 400 ayahuascas or whatever, even if you don't agree with the mother who cured her cancer with milk or whatever these different things are, you're at least putting something that has a little bit of resistance into your field to activate you.
yes.
It's like you have to sort of get angry to get out of your complacency. But then you get to realize that under almost all anger is sadness. And then you get to dive into the sadness. And I promise you, if you go in and you keep looking for truth and the coherence of your journey, you're going to get to the other side where you're going to recognize, oh my God, if I hadn't broken this arm, I wouldn't have been in this location. I wouldn't have met my wife or my husband or my friend. I wouldn't have gone to physical therapy and done this. I wouldn't have realized that my self-care was in the toilet before I had my injury. I wouldn't have, there's so many things that if you decide today is the first day of my better journey with my injury. Today is the first agonizing day of detoxing the drugs. I'll tell you about detoxing the drugs. The fastest way to get them out of your system is to do colonics and enemas. Because all that residue of everything you ate during that drug times is all kind of filled with that energy. It's one of the quickest ways to start cleaning yourself.
So in regards to that, do you advise anything else than just warm water?
Well, this is where people get into the coffee enemas.
Yes.
I'm anti-coffee anything. And here's why. And, it's true, the large intestine doesn't absorb the caffeine in the same way. But I learned from another colon hydrotherapist that what you do is you buy organic wheatgrass powder.
Okay.
And you buy organic aloe leaf powder. And you might do one bag of the enema with just water. Then you take literally...
Is just water or is it salty water? What is...
No, just plain water, I would say.
Water. Okay.
The next, you make maybe a little mixture about this size, and you put sort of a quarter to a half a teaspoon of each of those two powders. And you mix it up, and you put that in the bag, and you do your best to hold that in there for a while. You're instantly done with coffee enemas. It works. It works. There's an answer to not taking... And why am I not pro for the daily drugs? Because everyone, there's tons of 90-year-olds drinking coffee every day. Okay, fine. But we're not them. They even had a better microbiome than this generation. They didn't inherit parents pounding espressos and macchiatos and matchas and yerba mates all day long, now producing chronically anxious, ADHD, unable to focus children. Those things, here's why. This is my one statement. I'll say this over and over. You cannot lead a culture to freedom when you are drugged by the chemicals of that culture. That's my perspective. I did drugs. I did lots of drugs. I'm not like my goody friend Maya. I attract goodies or ex-drug addicts like me. And I'm glad because I get more people off drugs than anyone I know successfully. So,
but you also have personal experience. So
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, my shaman would give 4 of us 40 hits of acid, which is insane. And I cannot believe I went through those things. But I learned whatever was there for me in this lifetime to learn from those things. And I'm 30 years away from it, maybe more. And I was a pothead because I had MS coming on. I had chronic pain. I know how you use these drugs for pain. But let me tell you, the biggest pain on planet Earth that is caused is caffeine and sugar. How do I know that? Because every woman that's listened to me that's completely eliminated all processed sugar, she goes from having paralyzing cramps 1 month, and that could mean pasta and bread too, to no pain 1 full month off sugar. Caffeine equals pain. Sugar equals pain. Sugar turns into alcohol. So it's all in the same category. And people don't realize that chocolate, and I've been with all the raw foodists. We've already gone to the mat. We've already argued about it. My chocolate has no theobromine. It does. My adrenals feel it right away. Sorry, I'm the canary in the coal mine. I can feel the anxiety in your body from the chocolate you just ate. Does it mean I never have eaten chocolate? No, I get very mad at Earth sometimes. It's so boring to be more and more awake and have people more and more asleep. Sometimes, yeah, I'll eat like a rich, crazy chocolate thing and love it, and I'll suffer the next 2 days. But I kind of am in a health place where I can cheat Blue Moon. Mm-hmm. I don't choose to because I don't like how I feel afterwards. And the thing that I say to people is that when you go on this journey of really cleaning and clearing, you actually come to a place where you don't miss those things. You really do,
And that's freedom.
It is freedom. And I'm about freedom, and I'm about getting down to the bottom of your truth and radiating your unique, beautiful, magnificent light and letting that love of your light heal other people. That's what Christ did. He just went around and healed people. No one even talks about that.
Yeah. Okie dokie. So I just wanted to take a very short break here and say thank you for tuning in, especially if this is your first time. If you are enjoying this episode, please make sure you subscribe to the Mindful Injury Recovery Talks on your favorite platform and leave a review, because that helps us reach even more people with these important talks. And now, let's get back to the interview. So, we talked about physical detox.
Yes.
Let's talk about mental detox, which is also very important.
Well, considering under the seven hermetic principles, it's the law of mentalism. This whole world is mind. And in like the 12 laws of the universe, they would say the first law is oneness. So when you begin to understand, and this is what I had to do in my own journey, is that I was in so much agony physically that I had to realize every day to function with my 3-4-year-old daughter, to function in my business or in my communications, I had to kind of separate myself from the agony of my physical form. And it was a teacher for me into consciousness. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we don't understand is that our mind is almost like a little puppy that's untrained, that literally will pee all over the carpet unless you train it. And I talk about the body as like your pet. It's got to poop, it's got to sleep, it's got to eat. We haven't made friends with this, most of us. And one thing about an injury, if you can go there, is that this is a friendly map that is only for you to come into your union of all of who you are. And the doorway you created was a heart condition. The doorway you created was a snapped ankle. A doorway is, the fall off the mountain. Whatever it might be, it's that catastrophic moment that makes you go from this way to this way, And two tools that I thought about since we turned back on that I really want people to know about is if you're in amazing physical pain, one of the things I would have loved cryotherapy, which I've then since used, where you go into the little closet, it's 250 below. You start with, a minute, 2 minutes. You only go up to 3 minutes anyway, because you don't want to freeze yourself. And you have to make sure the place has you in socks. You have gloves on, you have earmuffs. Women wear bras usually. And so basically that is one of the greatest things out in the world for pain. If you can find it.
Would you also say that it's comparable with cold showers?
No, it's not even close. Cold showers are great, and that's a really good thing to do in your home. Like go hot, cold, that's amazing. But I recommend instead of cold showers, do a cold bath. Mm-hmm. Like literally fill your bathtub up, put ice cubes in it, go into that. Mm-hmm. That's cold therapy compared to a cold shower. And if you have access to cryotherapy, it's kind of extraordinary because it turns on the survival genes. And a cold bath that has ice cubes in it will turn on the survival genes. I'm not sure that I have felt that level of stimulation from a cold shower. And also, it depends on where in the world. Like, I couldn't get ice cold here in Mexico if I tried. You don't really get warm anyway.
We don't
it's
have cold water.
Yeah,
we don't.
It's just like tepid.
Yeah.
So make your own in a bathtub, and that's very different. And I mean 3 bags of ice. And sometimes if you can't handle that kind of cold at first, you start by doing it with your feet. Mm-hmm. You get a great big bucket and you start by sticking your feet down there. It's incredible. It'll reset your thermostat. I tell people you're working up to 2 minutes to start with, but I would get to like 25 minutes. And, you have to go very slow over 25, 30 days. And you can reset your temperature. You can help yourself. So you don't have to go to cryotherapy. You can be making your own with whatever you have. So that's one tool. The second one is they have these sort of like rods with handles on them. And I'm embarrassed, audience, I didn't bring mine today. And they have these little rolling donuts that have an imprint. And the imprint is sort of like the size of one of your one thing of your finger. And you roll them up and down your legs, the inside of your legs. You can't really do your arms, but if you need to heal, you need blood flow. Yeah. And the other thing I would say, if you have a break, birch essential oil, I've even had people pour it down their casts. Birch has a reweaving of the bones that's incredible. So I just wanted to put more and more practical things out there.
So with broken bones, you would advise birch.
Yes, 100%. And so there's others. There's helichrysum for like...
Do you dilute it in a carrier oil?
I don't. We're done. If you want to be gentle on yourself, you do that. If you're Angel, and you do like 5,000 times more than everyone else. And all the essential oil people, it's dangerous on your skin. Not really. The problem that we have in our culture is they're allowed in America to call an essential oil pure when it's only 5%. Mm-hmm. So you want to find really good products. Mm-hmm. And birch is not that easy because the birch trees have really been attacked, just like sandalwood is not easy and very expensive. Birch isn't as expensive. It kind of smells like wintergreen. It's a very beautiful smell. Mm-hmm. But I definitely would put that on there. And then there's another tool in America called Aztec Healing Clay. And I'll have to send you a photo when I get back to the States. Aztec Healing Clay is when you first have an injury. Why is it so long to recover? It's so long to recover, depending on the type of injury, of course, is because you've banged something and now all the toxins are released, which is the bruising. If you take Aztec Healing Clay and you add apple cider vinegar to it and you make a very thick paste, I cannot tell you how many bones, joints, things that we've healed doing this. And you wrap your paste, let's say it's your wrist, you put it on there immediately from day one. Everyone should have this in their home. And you wrap it in saran wrap and you leave it there and it starts to suck the swelling out. Now you've cut your recovery time probably to a third, if not a half.
So you're doing this every single day?
Every single day. And
for
you
how
sleep
long?
In it. You'll know. It's like, for someone with a serious injury, you might do it for a couple weeks.
But if you have a cast, you just wait for the cast to get off.
The problem is that if it's actually broken and you're in a cast, then I would go for the birch. Okay. I'd try to put the essential oil down in there. Well, the idea is to get the Aztec Healing Clay as soon as the injury happens, because you're pulling the toxins that are causing the swelling out. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how much that will work. And in other countries, you're just going to have to research. If they don't have Aztec Healing Clay, you're going to have to find the clay that you mix apple cider vinegar with that will go to pull it, and you wrap it in saran wrap. You tape the saran wrap. It's it's a chore, mm-hmm. but you want to get better, faster, and you sleep in that. Anytime you have an injury, that's a go-to.
So you mentioned bruising, which is very often after an injury, or not necessarily just the injury. I hear, sometimes I don't know where this bruise came.
I don't either. I know.
So is this connected to toxicity of the body or not?
Well, if I talk to the top athletic trainers, and I have access to some of them, to athletes from, the Olympics and whatever, top sports, those $50 million guys, $100 million guys. My top trainer said recently, he said, if you were to peel my skin off, you would find healthy pink, skin, because he's really, really good at hydration. He's good at diet. And when you look at most of them, even the athletes, if you peeled your skin off, you would find kind of brown. It would not be very healthy. What I would say to you is that having had MS, I wouldn't say I'm always the most coordinated person. Look, I'm even getting red. I am a transparent leader. I'm very good at this. I am getting really red, aren't I?
No.
No, okay.
No.
So what would happen is I bump into things and I don't know where the bruises come from, because sometimes I don't even, I dislocated 9 toes when I had MS because I couldn't feel my feet. So I really, really would walk into something, I would do something. And so what I would say is that everything has to do with everything. Mm-hmm. Probably if you have the healthiest tissue, you're the most oxygenated, you exercise regularly, you may be less of a bruiser. Mm-hmm. But I'm not a biology wizard. I think that as people get older and their skin gets thinner,
yes,
and they're not healthy, they start having all these different blotches and things. And that's why I would say to anyone from age 5, 10, 15, 20, start to learn what is your formula for well-being. Mm-hmm. Start to figure out what kind of muscle training you need to do so that you're walking the same at 85 as you were walking at 15. That's the goal. And there's all kinds of different body work out there that is extraordinary, that really re-educates the muscles so that they're not mm-hmm. And what breaks my heart is when I see people bent over as they're older and they're like this, it's hamstrings that are too tight.
Yes.
Every time. And it's why don't we have so many services. Why don't we have vans that drive around with a camera and you take those people and you work their hamstrings and all of a sudden they go from this to this, or this to this, and this to this, and this to this. Why aren't we caring for each other in the way that we know how? And that's the world that you and I are building. We didn't sign up to totally fix the tragedy of this world that we've watched. We're here to inspire the new one.
Absolutely. Talking about the mindset.
Okay, so the mind
Stress,
detox.
Mind detox.
This whole realm is mind.
Yes, because I think it's very important, because the physical body follows the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body.
If the energy right, the physical follows.
Yes.
If the energy right, the physical follows. If you can't even think of yourself as well, you're not going to get there. You're not going to get there. They will tell us the studies they've done where they will have people exercise a whole formula in their mind for 30 days and they didn't work out 1 minute and their body looks like they worked out for 30 days. But how do you do that when you have an injury, you're in pain, you might have children, or you have a job, or you have a house or a cat or a dog or whatever you have to take care of, and you can't even take care of yourself? How can you calm your mind? Well, this is where I kind of go to the mat with people who are meditators, that oftentimes in the younger generations, or in the overwhelmed generation, whatever age you are, you don't have enough calming neurotransmitters to focus on meditation. Mm-hmm. So I teach going to contemplation exercises. So okay. We're going to do some right now.
Yes, let's do it.
So the first thing that I had to do in my life, and I did this a solid 10 years, is I focused on peace. And it looks like this. The peace that passeth all understanding. I would love to discover that peace. I'm inviting the universe to bring the peace that passes all my understanding. I welcome walking with peace. The peace that passes all understanding is a new way of being. I would love the universe to share with me the peace that passeth all understanding. I am that peace. I welcome peace throughout my body. I inspire peace wherever I go. And you can feel that because I did that for 10 years. Because I know that I'm here to activate levels of peace with people so then they can focus on what they need to. Because all manifestation comes from rest. It does not come from doing. Mm-hmm. And if you can bring your mind to a place of stillness, and that's why I say to you, it's annoying if you're totally overwhelmed and you're in pain, and it's irritating as all get out to someone say, oh, you just need to meditate 30 minutes a day. Shut up, you idiot. That is not where that person is. That is not what they're capable of. That is certainly not where young people are with their devastated GABA, serotonin, anandamide, all the different chemicals they're missing.
As well as I had instances of people who were, their image inside of the mind was, well, you know what, I cannot really meditate because right now I am injured. I cannot sit in a lotus pose.
Oh, yeah.
So I cannot meditate.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Lotus is not good for your hips long term. The worst bodies long term are dancers and yogis. And the reason for that, and also, when was the last time you saw a laughing yogi? Really, it's like a vegan restaurant. You want to be miserable? Go to a vegan restaurant anywhere in the world. They're gray, they're serious, they're talking. It's like, where's the joy? I'm going to tell everyone right now, no matter what your ism is, happy needs to be your constant. Mm-hmm. Happy is what feeds the spirit. Laughing is what feeds your spirit. So, lotus schmotus, like sit down, lay down, try not to fall asleep. Yeah. If you fall asleep too much, then sit up. But walking meditation.
There are all sorts of
dancing meditation. But what I would say is if what is between these ears is not in stillness or on the journey of it, on the doorway of it, you're never going to get to happy because your mind is racing. And look, I understand. I have studied brain chemistry for 29 years in real time, not in books, I've helped things happen that shouldn't happen on this planet. So they say. When you have enough neurochemicals, which you can generate more, hot bath creates serotonin. A steaming hot bath creates serotonin. I tell people the only thing you're allowed to watch when you're in trouble is comedy.
Yes.
That's it. If you don't watch Bridesmaids.
And that's what I was doing intuitively.
Yeah.
When I was, in bed for 3 months.
Yeah.
I was watching comedy. I was putting myself into a positive state of mind as much as possible.
And also love stories. It's totally great to have love stories.
Love heals.
Love heals everything. That's why we're here. Everything in the universe is focusing love upon you right now in order for you to exist. And it's time that no matter what the circumstance of the energy is, let's expand your understanding perhaps of who you are. Let's bring people to a greater level of consciousness so they can, in my experience, if you don't plug in twice a day, it's hard to maintain an even flow. So twice a day means before you get up, before you look at an email, before you get a phone near you, which by the way, please sleep in rooms with no technology. Put your computer and your phone in another room. You don't even know what they're pumping through that when your phone is turned off. And that's way too big of a conversation, but it's true. Don't sleep in the aura rings. All the guys that must get the measurements, measure for a week and then get rid of it because you don't want to wear anything on your body like that when you go to sleep. You won't sleep deep. Wear your eye mask that has holes in it. The favorite eye mask of mine right now is called Manta Sleep, and it's silk. So you have silk on here, but the eye cups are removable. Because each of us have different, like I have wide set eyes. You have thinner set eyes because you have a smaller face. You should never have an eye mask touch the lid of your eyes. How come I didn't even know that until recently, And now.
And why is that?
You don't get REM sleep.
Okay.
And REM is not the answer. Theta, deeper, delta, whatever they call it. I'm a little dumb in Mexico.
Delta.
Delta. I'm also doing genetic things right now and not as sharp as tool in the shed. Anyway, you have to get to that delta, which a healthy child would get 20 or 30 minutes a night, and I can't find the ones I'm testing. So you want to get yourself in the REM so you can go into the delta. So you want to buy eye mask. I think it's about $69 US, which people are like, that's expensive. Well, you're going to have it for years, and you're going to cup your eyes. Cocoon does another one, but I like the silk. Mm-hmm. It feels the best. So you have to work on your sleep. You have to drink water. You have to make sure the vessel is eliminating. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, you need to have practices to still this, because this will create more chaos. It's like I say to people, never, ever discuss tough things in a car. The car is a setup for an argument. It's a setup.
You cannot escape.
You can't escape. And you've got phones in the car now. So you got Wi-Fi booming around. Yeah. And so I tell people 2 major rules for relationship. If you start to argue in bed, get out of bed instantly and go outside and talk to your partner. If you start arguing in the car, pull over. Because that level of argument is a vibration that starts to reverberate, which starts attracting an accident. Mm-hmm. It starts attracting something. It alters you in a way chemically. Like when you're angry, really angry, your chemistry is not quite normal for 3 days. So you want to realize the same with sugar. Oh God, for adults, if you eat sugar, it takes you 30 days to get your glycemic index back to normal. Who doesn't eat sugar that hasn't on this path in 30 days? Mm-hmm. So they're always imbalanced. So these kind of chemical...
Especially if you eat processed foods. So it's all the time is something there, right?
I teach everyone, eat like a peasant. Mm-hmm. Eat during the seasons. Mm-hmm. Eat according to where you are. Like, I don't want to eat... Mexico's full of fruits and vegetables. But I don't want to have some fruit and vegetable that didn't grow here. Yeah. So this is where the intelligence of your own circumstance with your own situation needs to be applied. And you need to hear this, a healthy brain takes 9 to 32 times and no one has one. So I repeat my theme as I share with people, but I do it on purpose. Mm-hmm. I do it on purpose, not but, so that you can start to go, okay, this woman does not stop talking about pooping. No, when you want to heal an injury, when you want to heal anything, you have to clean that part of you out. And it's very shocking.
And it's also going to affect your brain and your mindset. So it's
100%.
Connected.
Yes.
Right?
It's all connected.
Yes.
The brain, the body, the spirit, the essence, the energy body, the mental body, all these fields of light that we are come from the light that radiates in the microbiome. And I'm going to say this too. If you are eating onions and garlic every day, you are breaking down your microbiome. You're making your system more acidic, because it's the same as taking an antibiotic. And you have to do the experiment. I say to people, just don't believe me. I don't care. Go off it for 3 months. Mm-hmm. And that means you look, and even when you have those tortilla chips with onion powder in them, the minute you go off of it for 3 months completely, and then you try it, more light's going to be in your system. And what happens is it's like you feel yourself shrink. I've never had anyone that I got off the daily drugs or the onions and garlic that ever looked at me and said, I regret everything you taught me. Not once. And we're at hundreds of thousands of people that I've influenced in 30 years.
I don't want to do that.
I need more stress. You're totally messed up. I'm too peace of mind. It's like, really? The post-COVID world, you need more stress?
Yeah, true.
So contemplation practices can lead you into states of meditation. Mm-hmm. And usually be wary of anyone that says this meditation will cause you enlightenment, because in the masters and the avatars and the elders and the people I've sat with, the ones that are in marketing, the ones who have a lot of books, they have time to have a book. I know you have a book, but you had broken something too.
This was a necessity for me. And I always say this, and it might feel or sound weird, but I did this firstly, egoistically for myself.
You had to.
I had to pour out what is in this book.
But also the difference is this is a calling.
Yes.
I want to teach that really clearly. As I go forward and teach in these next years, it's because I'm being called forward. And I don't like the devastation of families. I don't like the fact that all of our generations were told to split up. And now children are fractured from all the divorces. They don't have any grounding. They don't have any structure. Young women in their 30s and 40s don't know that they're in charge of the relationship. Like, that's a calling. Marketing 50 books means that you're probably not alive in the process of constant evolution, because this is specific to this journey.
Yeah.
And somebody needs a map. But the thing that you offer, especially with the podcast, the map is not always the territory. So one of the things I look forward to is when you have live transmissions and everybody out there can ask you questions, because that's territorial guidance, you know, and what any of us who understand that we have a position as an elder, because our unique journey has not been played by anyone else. And we want everyone that hears from our unique journey to be uplifted to their journey.
Absolutely.
Or motivated or inspired or
Absolutely.
mused a new option. Like, I'm not afraid to talk about any subject. Neither are you.
Yeah.
Because once you wake up enough, you know that it's the love and the light that we're getting the opportunity to share with you today that's going to remind each one of these people suffering that they are that too. You know, so be wary. I started with be wary about people teaching meditation that say this is the answer. It may not be your answer. You might need to try 3 different things, but you also might need to do the ABCs that I like, contemplation, and you do it twice a day. You try first thing in the morning before you get into this world, 5 to 8 minutes. I'm saying peace because I think that's the start of the doorway. There are many others that I share at times. At 4, 5, 6 in the afternoon, I don't know what your timing is, when you're starting to wobble, when you're forgetting to talk to your subconscious, when too much has happened, sit down, 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes. Everyone can do that.
2 minutes.
Yeah, that's a lie that you don't. You're lying to yourself.
You know, it's just the perception of time. And for me, many years ago, this changed when I started telling myself, there's more than enough time for everything.
Everything.
There's more than enough time. And all of a sudden, really, there was more than enough time.
Always.
So it's about the perception.
It's
so
perception.
Those people who really have troubles in regards to, I don't have time for this or this or this or this, there's more than enough time for everything.
And if they're listening to your podcast or any others like this, everyone out here is trying to create a level of excellence that has lost in our world. I never thought I would see a world that admires pathetic and less than mediocre as great. And so remember that we're living in an era where the lie is considered the truth and the truth is a little bit poison. And what I always try to do is share information that makes sense. Like, it makes sense that there's not an election in the world that means anything. It makes sense that, you know, the mainstream media isn't telling you about this. Like, get rid of the shit in your gut.
Literally.
It's that simple. You know, stop drinking sodas. Okay, I'm going to do my soda thing. I'm going to do one chemical thing. I have to.
Okay, and then we're going to wrap up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 2nd grade, this is many decades ago, we had to do a study where we took soda, any soda that's on the market, not the healthy ones, and you put a piece of meat in there.
There is healthy.
Well,
sodas?
There's ones that are like stevia or like, you know, a little bit of lemon in fizzy water.
Okay.
I'm not talking about Coke, Pepsi, you know, anyway, we're probably not allowed to say their names. Anyway, those ones. You take that and you put it on the counter and you put a piece of meat in it. Chicken, turkey, lamb, whatever. In 2 days, it's going to be dissolved. There is never a reason on planet Earth, no one has a deficiency of soda in their system. There is never a reason on planet Earth to eat a soda, drink a soda the rest of your life. And now we look at all the knee replacement, shoulder replacement, hip replacements, because soda eats all the cartilage. And I understand why you're addicted, but it's the one thing that I say to people, drop it the minute you do that study. Because that is your flesh. That is exactly what's going to happen to you. So I'm not here to get you off every daily drug today. Give me time. Give me a chance.
Angel, we talked about a lot of things.
I know.
Now, I'm going to ask you, if you have to choose one thing, what is your number one advice that you would give someone who is recovering from an injury or from any type of physical trauma? If you had to choose one thing.
I honestly would have them begin the relationship with their subconscious. Mm-hmm. The physical body the subconscious is expressed through the physical body. The number one is to obsessively start talking to the subconscious and find out what it's teaching you.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
You know. Now, the last question.
Okay.
If you were on an island, desert island, with an injury, and you could bring only one thing with you,
I know.
What would it be and why?
I'd bring a little machine, but then the problem is I'd have to have enough batteries, just so you know.
We have sun. Let's say that everything
it's a machine called the Cosmotic.
Okay.
And it has scalar energy. And what it does is it connects the brain to the injured part of the body. And it's only about this big. I could have brought it today. I didn't think about it. And it's 10 grand. It's not a cheap thing, but I carry it with me all over the world in case something happens. And it doesn't have to be just for injury, but it gets the rhythms going. So that would be a crazy thing. Okay. I think it's fair that not everyone in the world is going to have a Cosmotic. So that's not fair. That's what popped in my head. I would say, what would I bring to a desert island?
You just said.
All right. Okay.
This is your answer.
I know, but I feel like it's an elitist answer because it's not available everywhere.
But we are expanding. Consciousness.
If I could hand out Cosmotics to everyone in every family, I would.
Yeah. So,
I would.
People are also learning about new things. So
yeah. Look it up.
Yes.
Look it up. It's an amazing tool. Every household could use it when you get injuries. Just like I said about the Aztec healing clay, this does this by making the brain aware. Ooh, I need to heal my knee. I need to heal my knee. Oh, I need to get that connection going. Mm-hmm. Again, it's quite profound.
Yeah. Perfect. Where can people find more about you?
You can go to my website of the technology, which is a regenerative nutrient technology called biometech.com. And this next year, like I would tell people to email, I'm going to be teaching relationship from the laws of the universe. And one of my passions is to help people mate properly, be parents, enjoy each other, not lose their marriage because they're together too long. And I've helped reinvigorate even 30-year sort of dead marriages. And I have a lot of guidelines that could be shocking. And yet, if you follow them, you end up with the love of your life. You end up with the passion that you were, not available to you. I want the best version of people out there so that our young people have anyone to look at who they can admire.
Mm-hmm. So are you saying goodbye to detox?
No. No. The brain... Oh, no. Biometech is a long-term. I consider Biometech the food bank for our cells. It takes your cells from a 1980 cell phone to an iPhone 14 Pro is what's there right now. That's cellular
I don't
upgrade.
know. Honestly, I don't know.
No.
Yes.
No. Well, the thing is, let's think about relationships. We don't use the same telephone for 3 years. Not really. Most people. Mm-hmm. We haven't upgraded our communication skills the last 3 years. And who you married or who you were with, you're a very different person than when you got together. Mm-hmm. And no one keeps upgrading those skills. And so I'm only about detox of what is dead and invigoration of what is new. Whether it's friends, family, sprays, who knows?
Angel, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
This was an amazing conversation. I know there were a lot of aha moments happening all around the world from listeners listening to this.
Yeah.
So thank you again.
Thank you, audience. Thank you for supporting Maya. What an amazing work you're doing. Me too.
This wraps up today's Mindful Injury Recovery Talk. If you enjoyed this conversation with Angel Evans, there are new episodes released every week. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you're using to tune in. And please leave a review so we can reach even more people who should be hearing these lessons. Also, if you or someone close to you is currently injured or recovering from an injury, make sure you check out my book, Heal Beyond Expectations. This book is built on cutting-edge new research, centuries-old knowledge, and years of personal experience. It's in part a step-by-step guide to applying my mindful injury recovery method, and in part a raw, relatable memoir of overcoming physical and psychological trauma. So to find out more about it, go to healbeyondexpectations.com or jump to Amazon and search for the title Heal Beyond Expectations.